Welcome to Mindset in Stone podcasts, where we dive deep into the most compelling books on the shelf. Join hosts Dave and Poppy as they uncover the stories, themes, and ideas that shape our understanding and inspire curiosity. Get ready to explore the big ideas that leave a lasting impact. Let's get started.
Welcome to the Mindset in Stone podcast, the deep dive, where we cut through the noise, bypass the superficial hype, and give you the actionable, nuanced knowledge you need to start building the life you truly want.
Today, we are undertaking a really crucial mission. We're diving deep into the foundations of personal achievement, looking at insights from the work of Brian Tracy and Christina Stein.
And we're really exploring the core difference between just working hard and, working smart.
Exactly. How to move from feeling perpetually stuck, even when you're putting in all the effort, to genuinely unlocking your full potential.
That feeling of being stuck is, it's absolutely universal, isn't it?
It is. We all have this desire to wake up feeling happy, enthusiastic, optimistic about the future.
But the reality for so many people is it's a constant grapple with fear, with negativity, insecurity, worry, frustration.
And these aren't just, fleeting feelings. These are powerful mental blocks. They're often rooted in past experiences, maybe things we've even forgotten.
They act like invisible chains.
Right. They bind us to lower levels of achievement and keep us from becoming everything we're capable of. They're like an unseen ceiling on our growth.
So our mission today is really laser-focused. We want to uncover those specific insights that can shift your self-perception so completely that you can change your entire trajectory.
The authors argue it often takes just one single idea, one profound realization to fundamentally change the path you're on.
And that can result in this feeling of, a wonderful certainty about where your life is going.
To really illustrate the power of these internal blocks, we have to start with Brian Tracy's own story and such a foundational anecdote.
It's incredible because it just shows that success isn't only about external effort. Brian started from the very bottom.
Poor home, no high school diploma, doing laboring jobs.
Right, washing dishes, digging wells, working on ships. But eventually he finds all this success in sales, and by age 30, he's achieved these huge external milestones.
He bought the used car of his dreams, the silver gray Mercedes-Benz 450 SEL. He had the money, the status, the symbol of his climb.
But here's the profound, almost chilling part of the story.
Even after getting that car, that symbol of financial triumph, he realized that a person can still have one unconscious block deep down.
A negative emotion or a memory from some painful experience.
And that one thing can make their life go around in circles, just indefinitely.
And the lesson is so stark. No matter how hard you work on the outside, your finances, your career, your fitness, if that single internal block, that self-limiting belief, is still there.
The harder you work, the less real progress you feel like you're making. You just keep circling the same unsatisfying place.
You might accumulate things, but you don't get that lasting satisfaction.
Working on external results alone is not enough. It's a byproduct.
You have to address the internal foundation first, the mental operating system that, constructs our reality in the first place.
And that internal operating system is a marvel. We're capable of generating more thoughts than there are molecules in the known universe.
But we often don't know how to use this incredible computer inside our heads.
It's the no instruction manual analogy. Think about it. You're born with this marvelous mind, all this untapped potential, like the most sophisticated computer you can imagine.
But nobody hands you the manual for life.
So you spend years, maybe your whole life, just figuring out the basic controls through trial and error.
And what's the consequence of that lack of self-awareness?
Well, Thomas Edison famously observed that there are people who think they think, and then people who would rather die than think.
And the majority, sadly, fall into that middle category. They don't give much deliberate, focused thought to who they are or where they're going.
And as a result, life just sort of happens to them.
They take the first job offered, marry the person who's just there at the right time.
Their life is like a bumper car, just getting continually knocked in different directions with very little control over the outcome.
But the core principle here, the real magic, is recognizing that your external world is largely created by the thoughts you consistently think,
which then drive your actions and ultimately your results. When you change your thinking, you fundamentally change your life.
We see this play out so clearly in therapeutic contexts. Christina Stein talks about a case study, a 40-year-old man.
He had what most people would call a good, life-solid marriage, happy kids, a well-paying job, but he felt perpetually anxious and unhappy.
And his core block was this deep-seated belief that he had absolutely no control over his own life. Everything felt random, externally imposed.
So the work they did wasn't about changing his job or his marriage. It was about changing his perception,
They identified small, specific areas where he was in control.
focusing on daily choices, decisions he could consciously make. And by practicing that, his whole attitude transformed from anxious and passive to optimistic and proactive.
The power there is just monumental. The change wasn't in his bank account. It was purely internal. It was that shift in perception. That's the starting gun.
And this internal shift brings us to the foundational mental laws that govern achievement, starting with what Aristotle called the law of cause and effect.
The iron law of the universe.
The premise is simple. Everything happens for a reason. Every effect we see in our lives, health, happiness, success, it all has specific causes.
So if you want a desired effect in your life, you have to consciously create the causes. It just strips away luck and chance and replaces it with deliberate action.
Exactly. The universe doesn't play favorites. If you find someone who has what you want, and you consistently do the same things they did, you're pretty much guaranteed to get the same results.
And that leads us right into our first big actionable takeaway, an immediate way to apply this law of causality.
Actionable takeaway 1, the admiration exercise. So take a moment, maybe right after listening, and write down the names of 3 people you profoundly admire.
They could be anyone, right? Historical figures, mentors, even fictional characters.
Anyone. Now, identify the single most important quality you admire about each of them. Is it their resilience, their generosity, their discipline?
Once you have those 3 qualities, you commit to developing those exact qualities in yourself starting today.
It's not about becoming them. It's about engineering the causes within your own behavior that led to their admirable effects.
This exercise puts the law of cause and effect right into your hands.
And the most important internal application of this law is this. Thoughts are causes, and external conditions are effects.
So your thought process is inherently creative.
A thought that's charged with emotion, and that's the key, the emotion, positive or negative, it acts like a guided missile leading you straight toward its target.
Christina uses that great analogy of a garden.
Yeah. Once you plant a positive or negative seed, the thought, the effect, either beautiful flowers or relentless weeds, happens automatically, by law.
So if you think emotionally about a promotion, you move toward it. If you think emotionally about a past failure,
You move toward repeating it.
okay, but hold on. Let me push back on that for a second. If thoughts are really that powerful, why are so many of us just stuck in neutral?
That's where the confusion is. The problem is when the mind is a jumble. We think about what we want for, say, 10 minutes.
And then spend the next hour worrying about everything we don't want.
Exactly. Without clear, specific, emotionally reinforced goals, our life just goes around in circles. It fulfills that foundational principle. You become what you think about most of the time.
Inconsistency just neutralizes the power,
It does. And that feeds directly into the foundational law of belief.
which states that whatever you believe with deep, consistent emotion becomes your reality. It's the filter for everything.
William James put it perfectly. Belief creates the actual fact. Your beliefs form this screen of prejudices through which you see the world.
So you don't see the world as it is. You see it as you are.
So if you have positive beliefs like I can learn new skills, you'll make good decisions, find opportunities, get good results.
But if you hold negative beliefs like I'm not smart enough, you'll take the wrong actions or no actions at all and get negative results that just confirm your initial belief.
And this is where we have to become critical thinkers. We have to challenge those negative beliefs because so often they're based on old programming, not current reality.
Which brings us right to our second actionable takeaway, designed specifically to dismantle those old assumptions.
Actionable takeaway 2, the can't-do challenge. So identify 3 significant things you want to achieve but currently believe you can't.
And these can be anything professional, financial, personal.
Then you have to examine that belief like a scientist. Why specifically do you believe you can't do it? Who told you that you lack the ability? A teacher? A parent?
And most importantly, have you ever actually tried it as an adult? Or are you just operating on an assumption of failure from that old programming?
Challenge the premise. You'll often find the belief has zero basis in your present reality.
And this need to challenge old beliefs, that takes us into the deepest part of self-development. Understanding where our self-concept even comes from.
Right, the psychological breakthrough here is that we are born as a tabula rasa,
A blank slate.
meaning everything we believe about ourselves, from our value to our capacity for success, is learned. It's an accumulation of feedback from our environment.
And that feedback loop starts immediately. A newborn only has two innate fears: the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling.
Every single other fear, every inhibition, every insecurity is taught through repetition, often unintentionally by our caregivers.
So if a child gets unconditional love and feels secure, they develop this fundamental belief that the world is a safe place and that they're inherently good.
But if they receive destructive criticism or they're punished for their natural curiosity, that foundational belief system gets poisoned.
And that poisoning creates the two primary negative habit patterns that act as the biggest obstacles to adult success and happiness.
The first is what we call the inhibitive negative habit pattern, or more simply, the fear of failure.
This is learned when a naturally curious child who wants to explore and touch everything is repeatedly shouted at or punished for trying new things.
The subconscious lesson is immediate and powerful. Action leads to pain.
And you see this so vividly in adulthood. It's what causes people to choose security over growth, even when that security is miserable.
Absolutely. They'll accept a lower-level job instead of risking change. They'll stay in an unhappy relationship just to avoid the risk of being alone.
They design their whole lives around compensating for their fear instead of pursuing their potential.
The second major pattern is the compulsive negative habit pattern, or the fear of rejection.
This one stems from parents using love as a form of punishment. Withholding love or approval when a child doesn't meet their expectations.
And since humans have this deep psychological need for belonging, the idea of being completely alone feels emotionally life-threatening.
So this fear shows up as extreme sensitivity to criticism or disapproval.
It leads people to suppress their true needs just to keep everyone else happy. They become people pleasers, internally exhausted but always agreeable on the outside.
That's heavy. To realize those deep needs can be manipulated against us so early on. But the key to changing this, according to Christina Stein, is addressing these fears directly.
And one of her client cases offers a really powerful visualization technique.
This is our third actionable takeaway, and it's designed to combat those limiting beliefs by bypassing the logical mind.
Actionable takeaway 3, the tiger kitten visualization. Christina worked with a client who had overwhelming anxiety whenever she had to speak to an intimidating coworker. She felt physically small in their presence.
So they externalized the feeling. The client associated her insecure, inhibited self with a timid, kitten small, defenseless, ready to run away.
And conversely, she associated her confident, grounded self with a powerful tiger.
And the power came from that conscious shift. Instead of waiting for the anxiety to hit, she would visualize herself as her tiger self before the interaction began.
By consciously practicing being the tiger, the anxiety around that coworker completely disappeared.
This method works because it externalizes the self-limiting belief, the kitten, and makes it something separate from your core identity.
And then it allows you to consciously substitute it with an empowered symbol, the tiger, which boosts your self-esteem and your internal sense of control.
To help our listeners figure out which of these two major fears, failure or rejection, is most active for them, there are two great diagnostic questions.
The first one is this. Imagine you were financially independent today with all the money you could ever spend. What would you do differently?
What job or relationship would you get into, and what would you immediately get out of?
The answer to that reveals the fears around poverty and security that are currently dictating your choices. If money wasn't an issue, what would you truly do?
The second question reveals the fear of failure.
What one great thing would you dare to dream or attempt if you knew absolutely that you could not fail?
The goal here isn't to guarantee success. It's to immediately reveal your heart's greatest desire.
Knowing what you would do if success was guaranteed shows us precisely what internal barriers, the self-doubt, the fear of judgment, we need to dismantle.
So once we identify the fears, we have to deal with the past baggage they've created, which, often takes the form of chronic negativity and blame.
Which is really just defensiveness rooted in past sadness or disappointment. If you ask someone why they're angry, the answer is always external. Because X did Y, or because Z happened to me.
And this is where that astonishing discovery about our mental capacity becomes so liberating.
Your mind can hold only one thought at a time, positive or negative.
So you can choose to hold the negative emotion of blame, or you can choose the radical positive thought of personal responsibility.
The moment you consciously choose and affirm, I am responsible for my reaction, it instantly neutralizes that negative emotion.
It switches your mind from that defensive, pessimistic paralysis to positive, optimistic, calm thinking.
Whenever you blame someone else, You're giving them control over your emotions. Accepting responsibility moves the locus of control entirely inside you.
To really understand how simple it is to let go of past hurts, let's use the pencil analogy, it makes the abstract so concrete.
If you clench a pencil tightly in your hand and you never let go for years, eventually your arm becomes paralyzed.
What's holding the pencil? You are. How do you let it go? You simply open your hand.
It is the exact same with past negative experiences and resentments. You open your heart and you let it go.
No one outside of you makes you feel anything. You decide your emotions by how you interpret and hold on to past events.
And this willingness to let go is tied to the law of forgiveness.
The law of forgiveness states that you're mentally healthy and spiritually progressing only to the degree that you can freely forgive, forget, and let go of any negative experience from your past.
Refusal to forgive locks you in place.
Yeah.
You're tethered to the very thing that hurt you.
And forgiveness is, at the end of the day, a perfectly selfish act. You don't set the other person free. You set yourself free from that emotional anchor.
We need a concrete action to seal that release, and that's our next takeaway.
Actionable takeaway 4, the forgiveness letter. This is a highly cathartic exercise. Address the people you still blame for past hurts, parents, ex-spouses, siblings.
Write a full, detailed letter to them. But crucially, in the letter, you don't try to explain or justify your own actions or feelings.
You simply state that you accept responsibility for your reactions, you forgive them entirely for everything, and you genuinely wish them well.
And the critical, irreversible step, the physical opening of the hand, is either mailing the letter or, if that feels too intimidating, ripping it up into tiny pieces and throwing it away.
The instant you commit to that action, a massive burden is lifted. You feel that immediate sense of freedom and emotional peace. It's a non-negotiable step.
This action moves us toward acceptance, which is essential for dealing with the unchangeable parts of life. We have to see the difference between a fact and a problem.
A fact exists in the past. It's unchangeable. Your age is a fact. A past mistake is a fact.
A problem, on the other hand, exists in the future. It's something you can solve, an unachieved goal, a difficult situation you can influence.
The wisdom here is to never allow yourself to get upset, angry, or anxious about a fact. That's just illogical resistance.
And the therapeutic process often involves grieving the loss of what could have been before you can fully accept the fact of the present and move forward. That acceptance is the foundation for mastering your mind.
Okay, so now we shift from dealing with the past to proactive strategies for mental mastery.
Our brain is equipped with both a success mechanism and a failure mechanism. The failure mechanism is the brain's default setting.
It activates automatically whenever you stop thinking positive, constructive, directed thoughts.
And this is governed by the law of habit and substitution. If you stop deliberately choosing thoughts that make you happy and focus on the future.
Your mind just defaults to rehashing old negative thoughts, worry, resentment. It's the easy, well-worn path.
But the breakthrough is that habit is reversible. If you discipline yourself to continually substitute a positive thought for every negative one, and you have to do this consistently.
By the law of habit, positive thinking eventually becomes your new automatic default setting. It stops being hard work and starts being your natural state.
This is the core of what Dr. Martin Seligman called learned optimism. His work showed that being optimistic or pessimistic depends entirely on your explanatory style.
How you interpret and explain events to yourself, especially setbacks.
And this requires real cognitive work. It's not the actual situation that causes unhappiness, it's your self-limiting interpretation of it. We have to reframe.
So instead of reacting to a difficulty as a problem, which sounds final, we learn to say, we have an interesting situation here.
Or even better, an opportunity or a challenge. A challenge is something you rise to meet. A problem is something that defeats you.
We have to specifically address the 3 Ps of pessimistic thinking, making setbacks permanent, pervasive, and personal.
Right. Learned optimism reframes them as temporary, specific, and externally influenced. This reframing brings us to our 5th takeaway.
Actionable takeaway 5. Analyze the setback, look for the gift. Napoleon Hill famously said, "Within every problem or difficulty, there lies the seed of an equal or greater advantage or benefit."
So look at a current situation that's making you angry or frustrated. First, ask 2 questions. What is good in this situation right now? And what is the specific lesson I am meant to learn?
And here's the key to depth. Your first answer might be superficial, like, I learned to check my email twice. That's not deep enough.
You have to drill down deeper. Ask again. What else is the lesson I'm meant to learn?
Keep drilling until you reach a significant, maybe even painful lesson that requires you to change a fundamental part of your personality or exit a failing situation entirely.
The true gift is often the necessity of major personal change.
Another critical element of mastering the mind is controlling worry and anxiety. We can use a structured four-step approach called the disaster report.
Actionable takeaway 6, the disaster report. Step 1, define the worry situation clearly and in detail. Write it all down.
Often, the very act of putting structure to it reveals a problem isn't as big as the vague fear in your mind suggested. Clarity can reveal the solution right away.
Step 2, determine the worst possible outcome. Ask, what is the absolute worst thing that could happen here? You usually find it's something you can survive.
Step 3, resolve to accept the worst, should it occur. This is the emotional control lever. Stress evaporates when denial is replaced by the calm clarity of acceptance.
And finally, step 4, begin immediately to improve upon the worst. Focus intensely on action and minimizing the potential damage.
By getting busy with constructive, forward-moving action, you literally don't have the mental capacity left to worry. Action cancels anxiety.
Coupled with that is a practice of zero-based thinking. It's a business strategy that applies powerfully to personal life.
You ask yourself this difficult question: is there anything I'm currently doing in my life that, knowing what I now know, I wouldn't start again if I had to do it over?
This requires tremendous courage because it addresses the psychological trap of sunk costs.
We often cling to bad decisions, a bad relationship, a failing investment, just because we've invested too much time, money, or emotion to admit we were wrong.
The sunk cost fallacy says, I have to continue this because I've already put so much into it. But that investment is already gone.
It's a massive strength, not a weakness, to admit a wrong decision and change your mind with new information.
You always have the right to mentally cut yourself free from the past,
Yeah.
accept the sunk cost, and redirect your energy towards something that has a future.
And finally, to make sure we don't default back to that failure mechanism, we have to adopt the future orientation of peak performers.
They don't dwell on what they did yesterday. They continually think well ahead and idealize their future.
This leads to our final major actionable step, a liberation exercise that bypasses all the internal critics.
Actionable takeaway 7, the magic wand exercise. Imagine, truly imagine, waving a magic wand to instantly make your life perfect in all critical areas 5 years from today. What does that perfect life look like?
Take a full minute or 10 and describe your ideal job and income, your ideal family and relationships, your ideal health and fitness.
The act of describing this perfect future is mentally liberating. It promotes what we call blue sky thinking, imagining you have no limits except for your own imagination.
And that clarity about the future, when it's consistent with your deepest values, makes it so much easier to make positive decisions today.
Every choice has to align with that 5-year ideal.
We've covered some substantial ground today. The central thread through all of this is singular. Success and happiness stem from taking absolute control of the mind.
The only thing we can ever fully control.
And that control means consistently substituting positive thoughts for negative ones, accepting responsibility, and continually focusing on growth.
And as we conclude, we have to circle back to the central importance of relationships, because they are the foundation for everything else.
Right. No amount of wealth or achievement can compensate for relationship failure.
Absolutely. Your ability to build and maintain long-term, loving, happy relationships is central to your well-being. And it all starts with your relationship with yourself.
How you feel about your own value largely determines the quality of your interactions with everyone else.
And the key to success in human interaction is profoundly simple. Make others feel important. Build their self-esteem at every opportunity.
Maya Angelou captured it perfectly. People will forget what you said, but they will never forget how you made them feel.
This can be done through the 5 A's of building self-esteem in others. First, acceptance, which is unconditional love for who they are. Second, appreciation, saying thank you often. Third, approval, offering compliments on small things.
Fourth is admiration, which means looking up to others and telling them why you respect them. And finally, attention, which is maybe the most vital.
It means listening intently, without interruption, without planning your response.
When you give someone your undivided attention, you actually release endorphins in their brain nature's happy drug. You make them feel valued on a neurological level.
And they, in turn, feel profoundly positive toward you. It's the ultimate connection hack.
So when you focus on these positive actions, taking responsibility, practicing acceptance, building others up, You fundamentally unlock your inherent value.
You have to remember this essential truth. You are a thoroughly good and excellent person. Your value is inherent. It doesn't depend on anyone else's fleeting opinion of you.
You were designed for success and engineered for greatness. You're meant to do something wonderful and meaningful with this lifetime.
The question ultimately is, are you willing to believe it enough to finally achieve it?
To close this deep dive, let's consider the most profound challenge which comes from near-death experiences. Those who report returning to life often recall being asked two fundamental questions.
Use these two questions today, right now, to evaluate your choices and measure your progress.
The final challenge. What have you learned in this lifetime? And perhaps even more importantly, how have you increased your capacity to love in this lifetime?
Use these profound questions to measure your choices today. Stop resisting change. View every challenge not as a problem, but as an opportunity that, if overcome, will make you stronger, wiser, and more loving.
Take action. Go be the architect of your best life. We'll catch you next time.
We hope you're leaving with fresh insights and a spark of inspiration. Remember to subscribe, leave a review, and check back for more episodes as we dive into new worlds of thought, one book at a time. Until then, keep your mind set in stone and your curiosity open. This has been a Big L Riz Media podcast, where big ideas meet lasting impressions.